All right, let's go ahead and get started with our morning weather brief for today, and then also looking ahead to next week for any potential impacts from potential tropical cyclone 9. This is Mike Dutter with the National Weather Service in Wakefield. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I'd like to show you the latest radar from across the area, and notice there's a lot of rain that has started to develop, showers, even some embedded thunderstorms. But in particular, at least for the next hour or two, want to really focus in on these storms over Greensville, Brunswick County, near Emporia, moving up into Sussex County and Prince George. Extremely heavy rainfall rates with these storms, on the order of instantaneous rates of 4, 5, even 6 inches per hour. Those are instantaneous, but blinding rain with these storms, very, very heavy rain. So, and we're expecting this type of situation these storms to continue to move more north and maybe even expand as the day goes on and impact areas further north. And we'll get into that more in a minute, but there is a flood watch out for much of the region along and east of 95 today. So, but before I get into that, I first want to talk a little bit about the two tropical systems out there, and to set the stage for the rest of the briefing. Currently, we have Hurricane Humberto, which is now a major hurricane, 145 mile an hour Category 4 storm. It rapidly strengthened overnight. And the good news, at least for the local area, is that this storm is expected to stay well offshore. The impacts, however, will still be felt in the region with high swell, rip currents coming in later midweek, as well as stronger winds, not so much from this system or the other tropical cyclone, but just from this high building southward from the Canadian, from Ontario and Quebec. But more on that in a minute. This is potential tropical cyclone 9. This is the track for the next five days, and notice how the Hurricane Center has it very slowly moving northward over the next few days across the Bahamas, becoming actually a tropical storm by later tonight or tomorrow. And then again, slowly moving northward. But then once you get into early next week, Tuesday, especially into Wednesday, the steering currents pretty much break down, and there is still a lot of uncertainty where this storm is going to go beyond Tuesday. So we'll get into that more in a second. But regardless of the track of this storm, as well as Humberto, the impacts are still going to be felt in the area. Again, high surf, some gusty winds at the coast, potentially coastal flooding from those northeast winds. And again, we'll get into all this in a second. So let's look at the pattern for the next few days. Again, heavy rain is the main concern for today. Tomorrow, with this frontal system nearby, by Sunday, less showers, some scattered showers, but much less shower activity as this front moves offshore. A little cooler, still muggy, but there is still a potential for some heavier rainfall across northeast North Carolina. And then Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, that's when we're starting to watch this. By this point, should be a tropical storm moving closer to the southeast coast of the United States. Again, moving very slowly. It's not going to move terribly fast, but depending on the exact track of the storm, there could be impacts from this, as well as this high building in from the north. See this tightening pressure gradient by Tuesday and Wednesday, especially in the form of strong northeast winds, especially close to the coast, some coastal flooding, and again, those large swell, damaging waves, potentially some beach erosion by mid to late week along the coast. Rainfall wise, again, that is going to depend a lot on the track, and we will get into more of that shortly. But first, I just wanted to show you the excessive rainfall from the next few days. Again, we have a slight risk of excessive rainfall for much of the area along and east of 95 for today, and we're already starting to see that. Again, a lesser chance tomorrow as that front sags southward, but then we're starting to see the increased chances of excessive rainfall Monday, and that will continue into Tuesday with the approach of the tropical system to our south. There is a flood watch in effect for much of the central and eastern, especially eastern Virginia, along and east of 95 through to this evening. We're expecting aerial rainfall amounts of 1 to 2 inches, but as we were already seeing, there's going to be localized higher amounts of up to 5 inches are possible. And this is going to cause, under the heaviest storms, heaviest showers, these some flash flooding, especially in urban low-lying areas and poor drainage. And we could see some road closures with some flooding of creeks and streams as well. So this is our latest forecast rainfall for the next couple of days. Notice that the core of the heaviest rain is expected in, again, generally in the flood watch area, lesser amounts over the Piedmont, especially the northwest Piedmont, as well as lesser amounts over Maryland, lower Maryland, Eastern Shore, where it doesn't, at this time, it doesn't look like the heaviest rain is going to reach this area. Really, the core of the best chances for heaviest rain are going to be generally in this circled area later today into tonight. And in this area, there is about a 20%, at least a 20% probability that at least one point could see, a few places could see up to 4 inches or greater of rainfall. And that shows us, this graphic shows that very well here. Again, that same general area, this is model-derived probability of at least 4 inches of rain, at least in one spot. So, and again, that's up to even 30 to 40% in a few locations overall. So again, very heavy rain is expected in places where the heaviest showers develop today and into this evening, especially along and east of I-95. So the forecast precipitation, again, we showed this as sort of a widened out view. Again, widespread, 1 to 2 inches of rain with higher amounts through the weekend, especially today and tonight. And then this is with the approaching tropical system. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty about where this northern edge of precipitation is going to, where the heaviest precipitation falls. If the storm does move slightly further north, this could edge further northward, the heaviest rain. If it stays offshore and stays south, the heaviest rain will stay out of the area. And so there's still a lot to be determined for the middle to the end of next week. So stay tuned. But there is, depending on where this storm develops or where it moves, that's where it's going to set up where the heaviest rain is going to be as well. And again, highlighting that, we do have a slight risk of excessive rainfall, mainly across southern Virginia into northeast North Carolina. So this is actually the probability this is for next week. This is the probability of at least 3 inches of rain for mainly Tuesday into Wednesday. And again, notice the probabilities right now are very low across the north, especially north of Richmond, north of I-64, generally less than 10%. But once you get down into south central, southeast Virginia, into northeast North Carolina, that goes up to 10 to 20%. Again, it's all going to depend on how far north that the storm ends up going. If the storm stays further south, these probabilities will likely even be lower, probably be a lower probability of 3 inches of rain. If it moves a little bit further north, then the probabilities will increase. We're sort of right on the edge of how much heavy rain is going to occur next week. But so again, stay tuned. Right now, again, there's about a 1 in 5, 1 in 10 chance of at least across the south of at least 3 inches of rain, towards the middle of next week. So really quickly through the rest of the forecast summary here as well. Again, generally cooler, gradually getting cooler, especially by mid to late week. We'll be struggling to reach 70s for highs as that high pressure builds in and we get to continue that northeasterly flow. Again, a lot of uncertainty, widespread rain today, showers and rain today, lots of uncertainty coming in for Tuesday into Wednesday with the tropical cyclone. So stay tuned. But we are expecting rain chances to increase again later Monday and especially on Tuesday and into Wednesday morning. But as of right now, the end of the week again looks dry but cool. Rip current forecast. There's low risk of rip currents today and even tomorrow. But again, with the waves and the swell from the hurricanes and the tropical systems, they will cause likely dangerous surf conditions by Tuesday, certainly by Wednesday. Tidal flooding, no tidal flooding expected, maybe just some very nuisance flooding through the weekend here. But again, there is that potential for significant tidal flooding during the mid to late week, especially with that northeast flow, and it's going to be, several days of gusty northeast winds that will push a lot of water into the coast and especially into the lower bay. So we're keeping a close eye on that. This has the potential to have another round of significant tidal flooding later in the week. So stay tuned. Certainly moderate flooding, I think, is becoming increasingly likely across much of the area, especially the lower bay and the coast. And could see some major flooding. The good news is that our tides, our normal astronomical tides, are low right now, so that is helping us. But there is going to be a lot of water that's going to be pushed inland middle of next week. Along with that, with that sustained northeast wind, the beaches, there's going to be a lot of beach erosion, a lot of maybe even some dune erosion and some overwash, especially along our North Carolina beaches here. So we have to really keep a close eye on that. So there could be some issues getting in and out of areas of the northern Outer Banks by middle of next week. As for the marine threat for the next few days, again, fairly tranquil weather today into tomorrow. But again, both by Monday and especially into Tuesday and Wednesday, marine conditions deteriorate rapidly, especially both wind gusts to 34 knots or greater, and waves greater than 8 to 10, maybe even 12 feet later on in the week. And in fact, again, we have a pretty strong indication of gale force conditions moving into later Tuesday into Wednesdays for most of the waters, with winds of 30 to 35 knots with gusts to 40 knots and seas perhaps as high as 14 to 17 feet. Again, depending on the exact tracks, but again, very high seas expected. And again, you see this with the marine wind potential. This graphics is just through Tuesday morning, but you can see by certainly getting gusts to 25 to 30 knots by Tuesday morning, and those are just going to continue to increase by the middle of the week. And this shows that into a little bit more detail. Again, sustained winds by Wednesday into Thursday at 30 knots, close to 30 knots with gusts, upwards to 40 knots. So again, it's that combined with the swell out of the east or northeast is going to create very adverse marine weather conditions. And here's the seas for the next week. I'm just showing that again, approaching 10 feet or greater, certainly by Wednesday. Now, this is the significant wave height as well as the occasional wave height for through Tuesday morning. So notice that, we're expecting right now that by Tuesday morning, waves will be of this 5 to 7 foot nature. And that generally is like one or two every 5 minutes or less. But the occasional wave height, one in every 15 or 20 minutes, could be up to 10 feet or even greater by Tuesday morning. And again, all of this is just going to build into Wednesday. So that's all I have. So I'll be happy to entertain any questions.